I'm kind of starting to realize that Satyr is this town's merchant in a way. Doesn't help the fact that, he does this, which is something I've made him do in my event, but I digress. Hi. Uh, we're at the finale, everybody. After 10 videos, we're finally here talking about the last few characters, the ones that were released in July up until the end of December of 2020. So let's get started in doing this. This will probably be a lot more shorter, maybe, because some of the items in question I do not have, because they have not been ever released as of yet. They probably will in the coming months in bundles, but we'll see. We shall see. But let's go ahead and talk about one that I've kind of wanted to be regretting, and that is the Be Afraid. Right, okay, let's talk about the boring stuff. Let's talk about Connor. Connor, yeah, there he is, That kid looks like Billy Deep. So, like I said before in this update, his inspiration mostly came from the actual Connor from the Terminators. I mean, of course, because they both are named Connor. It's a shame because this kid doesn't really stood out during the event, and I kind of already talked about during my 2020 thing, so I won't go too much in depth and rant on that. But yeah, he doesn't really have much animations besides the whole rolling wisdom stuff. He actually, for some reason, plays Spider Demo, which is interesting. I'm not sure why, especially since it gives him a vote card. But okay, yeah, Spider Demo. All right. Uh, we'll just have him do this. So we'll have him roll this. Uh, it would have actually been cooler if, he did like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing when you put up a card and the monster pops out or something. Like, it didn't have to be a new unique monster. It could just be like say for example, the fish monster here. You could just have him pop in or something. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, this would have been fine for like one of the animations, but all four. It's like, all right, I'm sorry. I'll stop. All right. Then we got Zawid. He was one of the unique ones, and what's special about him is that he actually was one of the first gifts I got. Like, I know during the event, my persona, my avatar, was featured in there as a character by the name of, according to the files, Jacko Crow. So yeah, no, on the nose there. But in the story, he's just called Jacko, which a lot of people might be confused because there's a guy named Jack, and then there's the Amazing Jack, and Jack. Whatever. I'm digress. I'm off topic. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy, Mr. Zawid. There's a lot of inspirations with Mr. Zawid. There's the Jafar look. There's the way he's holding his card reminds me of the guy from The Princess and the Frog, Doctor Facilier, or the Shadow Man. The Shadow Man. I think that's his name. I don't know, but the villain of that show. There's a thing with him holding cards. Kind of does that kind of deal, and I don't know. Like, he has an interesting look. Like, as a character and as the building that he has, nothing's wrong with that. I like that. Right? It's good. It's good for what it is. He just sucks as a villain. Like, what was his purpose? Oh, let's play this game that I might, just like, you suck. I'm sorry. I know this was a gift, but God, no. Come on, man. Do better. It's like oh God. Maybe we probably should move on because it's sucking all the joy out. So, he has vanished, enchanting, magic cards, carpet ride. The only unique thing about him compared to Connor is the fact that he has actually four different animations, so they're not like recycled. So, like a genie, let's have him ride a carpet ride type of deal. Oh, yeah, let's have him do that. Yeah, that there he goes. There he go. There he be. Kind of doing this, you know. And that's it. Also, I don't know why, but I think there was like a design where they were looking at, if I'm not mistaken, and there was like a character like Mr. Dark, which is from a book series you may not know. It's Something Wicked This Way Comes. And would you know that there was a movie based off of that, which was done by Disney of all things? This was back in the 80s when they wanted to go all edgy. And they were like, ooh, we're not children's anymore, you know. But didn't do so well. You had to do the Renaissance 90s in order for them to be back. But, oh well. Nah, that's about done. So now let's talk about the scenes in question here. So what they've been doing back in August, or not August, but in 2020, they've been bringing back scenes and integrating them with events, right? Like I talked about the headless horseman that was kind of featured within this update. So they've kind of done that with the other ones, but I didn't really bother because again, I talked about. So let's talk about this horrendous thing. This is the Jekylls Haunt. The aliens from... I'm not sure what they're called exactly, but the Avatar aliens. Here they are, the Navi. Is it the Navi? I don't know. They're the aliens, right? Like, if you look at them... Yeah, look. They're the aliens. Look at this. Big alien monsters. Now, I don't know if these creatures are actually in the books. I don't think they are. I know they've kind of do this medieval look, but I guess they wanted to go a little bit more interesting characters that are huge. And to be fair, I don't mind the designs. I like the way it looks, right? I think, you know, like, again, the designs and everything are not that bad. As a free, quote-unquote, scene to get, they're not. That wasn't the problem. It was just getting them was the issue, and the fact that they were required for like one particular item, which made it really bad, in my opinion. But you know, we'll have them kind of do this for a bit, and my video stopped by accident. Sorry, I meant to pause, and the thing, I pressed the stop button instead of the pause. Because for some reason, every time, like, you know, when I'm not talking or anything like that, I'm fine. But it's like as soon as I talk and when I do this, it's like, oh, nah, yawn time. And it gets real annoying. The design, by the way, of this is actually kind of neat too. Like Jekylls Haunt. It's like the alien-esque kind of fantasy world. And again, they've done good with what they've got. With the designs and everything like that, it works. My problem of it is just the whole thing, how it laid out, it was just so bad. But that we don't get any new unique items, which probably going to come into an most likely back in July. We're going to get like a little bundle with Sawwith and all that, and with that we're going to get like a weird bundle thingy. You watch. And yeah, look at that. We got the Dragon's Lair. The big scene, which is with Sparkles the Dragon, who I like. He's a good boy. He's a big boy. You know, like just breathing fire. He's just happy to be out and about, right? Like that's all he does, right? I actually do like the design of like the Sparkles over here, and the fact that how he kind of flies around. Like he kind of does the swatting flies thing when he's flying. He's not really flying. He's just kind of hovering when I think about it. But yeah, he does this. Again, I do like the design, the fact that he's kind of huge. At least this time I got the pause correctly instead of stopping it. Again, it'd be like jumping to and fro because, you know, you don't want to hear me yawn every time. It's so annoying. I really don't know why this is the case. Even when I get proper sleep, it's again, me ranting a bit. But yeah, no, I mean, I really do dig. I think as a scene item, I think I really did dig this one. He is just activated on his own. The only thing I felt like was kind of on was the fact that during the event, he was like a coin flip. So there was no guarantees that you would actually get what you want from him, which sucked. But this time around, I believe, yeah, so they've increased it by like like a third, fourth of the way there, which is actually not that bad. Now, oh boy, let's talk about my favorite one. My favorite update of last year. So this was the second worst one. Now let's go to my, according to me, the one that I actually really love the best, which was a shocker on Shock Street. And unfortunately, This is what I was talking about when this is when we start to see some of the event scenes not appear because the book has not arrived as of yet. I'm not sure if they'll ever do if they're allowed to do that. I mean, if the game comes back, most likely the book is going to come back fully with it. But as far as the actual whole thing goes, the Cavern of the Creeps is based off of a thing of the same name, and the ride looks weird. And what's interesting about it is that it came with the praying mantis animatronic, which apparently R&B Faraday controlled. I think like it was implied that he actually had like well, hold on. It's weird because, he was needed in order to summon it. And what's weird about it is that technically he wasn't like controlling it like say Dr. Brownstein was with his spider or how what was it? Or how the mayor was controlling the hatch from that scene. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that one out, but yeah, there you go. And that's not true anymore. This is Grim from the future. Well, I mean, by the time the recording has been happening, I digress. So basically, what you've been watching was recording back in May, being slowly introduced into the thing a while ago. Well, now we got to this point here. I can tell you that we finally got the Cavern of the Living Creeps. And yeah, so here's the scenes in question. So I already talked a bit about Aaron, but this is the other monster we didn't get to see, the praying mantis robot. And the praying mantis robot is interesting because this is need Faraday in order to get this. So let's just see how they look. So Aaron looks pretty much as usually normal. The robot, on the other hand, yeah, look at this. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I love the praying mantis. I think I've talked about this when it first happened, but the fact that, you see the little thing, like it acts like a praying mantis, and then you see the lights kind of flickering like green to red, that there's cameras all over the place, because you can tell Faraday was just like, oh, I need to make sure I got all the shots. I have a light here just so I get the right lighting. I mean, it's kind of dumb because in the story it was like an AI that's doing it. So I don't know why he would be controlling the robot, but I guess they needed an excuse to kind of premium to kind of go, oh yeah, well this is needed, right? Also, I love the fact that there's a little stupid camera in the middle of the chest. Again, he needs all the shots. Just like any director, it's like, okay, just in case we only get one chance, might as well get all of this. So you never know, right? Lots to work with. We need the horror from all angles, right? Where is he going? Oh, he's going up here. Oh yeah, good. He's gonna scare these people. Yeah, he's gonna scare? Oh, he's gonna scare, well, poor Megan. Is he gonna go after? No, he goes after him. Alright, well, let's see if I can't find, Aaron, because Aaron basically doesn't have much of a scare. In fact, if anything, she's just kind of moving around. Now, fun fact, I don't think there was a design for, her attack animation. So I think what happened was that, they animated something, but they're like, nah, it doesn't look that good. So we already have her freaking out. So why don't we just do this? Because that works, right? Yeah, I mean, it works. So why not do that? So yeah, that's it. So that's the scare scene for the Faraday stuff. So where is it? Over here. All right. So yep, there we go. And yeah. So back to your regular scheduled programming of whatever that is. So yeah, that's the one scene we're starting to see. There are scenes I have not gotten yet that has not been released as of yet. Like it has not been released at all. So we have not gotten access to it. So any items I do not show you here tells you that at this point they did not offer it as a bundle or anything in the book. We have not gotten ourselves a hand of it yet. So that's one of the scenes I have yet to catch my grubby hands on. But we have some scene items regardless. But before we do that, let's talk about the characters themselves. Aaron. So I mentioned way long ago that Professor Shock had an interesting like creation of sorts. This was it here. Aaron. Aaron is the like basically Professor Shock takes over Professor Wright, and in the sense basically Aaron becomes the daughter to Shock in a sense, even though it's weird because in this tale, Aaron is aware she is actually a robot. In the story she came from, it was implied like, oh, she was unaware that she was a cyborg, and he kind of figured that, yeah, she was short-circuiting because she mentioned a mother, and she knew that she wasn't had the mother here. But in this case, she kind of like knew, like it's almost like she's an involved version of Cynthia, in the sense that Cynthia is a robot, kind of pretending to be a kid. This is a actual full grown, like almost like an intelligence of AI that is aware that they are a robot. And we don't get to see a cool robot form, like a Terminator form of her. We do get to see this weird looking face design that she has in the story. So there's that. But one thing about her that intrigued me, if anything, is the fact that during her whole saving thing, like she has this weird attack animation, which is basically her like she has this self-repair that's kind of interesting. Flight mode, which is her hovering like Iron Man, super speed, like doing the thing from Naruto. But then the rage, this thing here, this was her attack, basically. This her whole weird attack here kind of deal. And then she does kind of bing bong around a bunch of times. Now, what's interesting is that they actually did animate an attack for her originally. However, I guess it didn't look right because she didn't have like much of a robot form. So they were like, hey, this one where she's freaking out kind of going like this. Yeah, let's just do that instead. This looks kind of cool. We'll have her do this as an attack animation, which, I get her doing the T-pose, asserting her dominance. As you all know, the T-pose is a very threatening thing. That's been memed on to death. But it's very true. Even bears certain types of bears are scared of T-poses. I made a joke in my recent video coming up in, I think, Match Island about bears, because they mentioned about, bears jumping in front of trains. It's like, I had to censor myself because YouTube doesn't like a certain word, and I ended up using it, so I had to, bleep it out because, I didn't want my video to get, like, marked as mature or something just because I said that one word. But, I digress. Yeah, but that's her. And then my favorite, RB Fairday. All right, yeah, so this guy, yeah, no, definitely. So he is basically from the book Fear Camp, or Camp Fear, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's Fear Camp, which is like a horror movie camp type of deal. And this is like a B-movie horror director, like famous for making movies and whatnot. And like I mentioned during my playthrough, he is 100% based look-wise on the director from Halloween Horror Nights Icon. And that's done on purpose because when you read the description of how he is kind of described in the book, he kind of sounds and looks like this kind of character involved. So although you could say yes, inspiration there, you could argue that the team at Halloween Horror Nights took inspiration from R.L. Stine. So I don't know, I'm just saying, But he is his own type of character, and he kind of looks unique too. He has his deranged look and his normal look kind of deal. He's interesting because it's weird, because originally he is supposed to be a character that doesn't fear anything, but he kind of does. So he gets scared during this time. He's not really my favorite as far as like that goes. As far as that, whatever you get. But, he has a bunch of stuff here. But my favorite out of all is when he kind of, like, and then this is, like, how He's also very unique because he's the only kind of character that walks around with a camera in his hand and just films everything, because he's the type of character that wants to get real life shots, and nothing scarier than actually real fear for his films. So, that makes sense. And that's kind of like what happens in the book anyways, too, that he kind of scares the crap out of the kids in that camp because of the film something. But yeah, he goes to the Five Nights at Freddy Nightmare Toy Bear, Nightmare Toy Freddy, for him to kind of clap at his own drive-through movie of a Shock on Shock Street. And I love the positioning that I did here, because he's literally standing on top of this other car, him kind of going, yeah, woo, yeah, my film, look at this. I love this here, best animation by far, as like making connection goes with the drive-through. This is brilliant. But I'm am I biased now? And yeah, when he was inventing the game, he was kind of OP. Yeah, so I mentioned this is basically the car here, the RB Faraday car. Now, there's some interesting reference here that I want to talk. So, two things. The actual car look and everything like that. No, not the camera, please. Can I pick up the car? Thank you. So, the whole car look and everything like that. This is a nod to a horror movie by the called of Maximum Overdrive, or yeah, I think that's what it's called. Give me a quick sec. Yeah, it was Maximum Overdrive. So the film about, like, based on a Stephen King book where things start, machines and whatnot have a mind of their own, and then it turns out to be alien. It's God, that film. That was like Stephen King basically going like, you know what? Screw it. I know the films based on my books are crap, so let's just go through Overdrive. Like, but kudos to him on that. But yeah, there is a particular truck with the Green Goblin on the front, and it's supposed to be a toy truck. And yeah, so this is a nod to that. But the interesting other thing too is the green skull that's on top of this truck is actually the said green skull that was from the same episode of A Shocker on Shock Street on the when the kids are testing the actual cart. And I forgot to mention this, Aaron and Marty. And Marty was included in the story because there was a character named Marty who was a friend of Aaron in the book. So that's why he was included here. But yeah, when the little cart came in, the little tram came in, they had a little skull animatronic. He's like, come in to sit into there. Yeah, and the design of it literally is the same skull here. So I love that little detail. I kind of suggested that to be like, yeah, why not? And they did it. So yeah, if the skull looks familiar, that's why. So let's talk about the FNAF animatronics. Not really, but yeah, Wolf Boy and Wolf Girl. So as far as the animatronics go, they have this interesting look to them that kind of make them stand out. And although, I don't mind the looks of these. These actually look kind of nice for what they do. I'm not, I'm kind of biased, but Playboy Vampire did a version of their own. And I think it fits a lot better with the designs if they're going with the cutesy kind of killer animatronic feel. But hey, I like this because I guess it's simplicity with the eyes changing rather than just make it more complicated. So, you know what? Yeah, why not? I do like how they designed this, the animatronics here to make it more unique and, not so hard to change. One thing to note is that these balls here, these Nikola Tesla spears, what was interesting is that originally they actually came from the Welcome to Deadhouse event, and then they kind of changed that and put it into this. So, yeah, that's a fun fact to learn about. And what you'll notice is that some of the items they actually included, they had to change it for some other stuff. Like something I forgot to mention my last video. I might as well mention this now real quick. And I do apologize. I'm going to go back to the Wolf Boy and Wolf Girl in a minute. So, not that you care, because I'm just making this video more interesting than it should be. But yeah, the secret hatch here. So this here, the Mayor's Rage, was actually an item from the vampire event that ended up getting changed. So if you come over here to where the vampires is, they ended up having to change that item to something else, which is, if I get over here, which is actually this haunted essence type of material, which is interesting. So they kind of change it to fit there. Not only that, but if I'm going over to, again, I'm all over the place. So if I go over here, yeah, so they've kind of changed it out so that the weird essence is not needed for that there. But yeah, so it's interesting how the game evolves and they kind of shift things around. But now that the things have been kind of established, they're gonna try to use this as a new feature now. When the game comes out, though, when it comes back, if it does come back, which I'm hoping for, it'll be interesting what they do as far as new event and updates go and how they're going to implement it back into the game. So I'm sure that's going to be something they're going to be looking into. But yeah, anyways, let's have Wolf Boy and Wolf Girl go out. They both kind of do the same thing when they get summoned and they drop the same items, which is one of the other nice features that they kind of did. If I'm gonna watch. So this is Wolf Boy. And I guess she already got her first victim. And I think he's going after him as well. Yep. So he does this scare. Yeah, so they do that. Getting scared by the same person. Like, they seem like they're going after the same kind of character. So yeah. They both look the same. The only difference is Wolf Girl is, purple pink, whereas Wolf Boy is blue. Yeah, it's weird because in the game model, she's pink, but in the actual drawing, it's more of a purple. I'm not sure why that is. You would normally think that they would try to match it with the same in-game model, but they tend to shift it a little bit. Like, for example, the in-game model for the next character I'm going to talk about, he'll be popping in a minute. Don't worry about that. Because, let's have these guys summon around, and then I'll talk about the next character and their scene and all that, because they're interesting. Okay, cool. So that's done. So let's finish them off there. And let's see if we can't find Wolf Boy, because currently they're both one of those click it and then they go back to their own normal scene kind of characters. So interesting. So they're done there. Right. So let's talk about the other subject, which was what exactly? Oh, right. The other event, the haunted school, or only school event, by the way, which is interesting. But yeah, let's look at Thalia. Thalia is an interesting character. It's weird that her colored version kind of reminds me of the Fluttershy, especially how she acts. The design that she has with the whole weather coat, raincoat kind of deal and this type of stuff, mainly I think is inspired by Coraline when I think about it, the way it's kind of designed, the color scheme in any ways. So yeah, and you could probably also say that maybe the way she wears the yellow hood could probably be a nod to Little Nightmares, but I don't know. I think that's whatever, sometimes references to other horror games and stuff. It's not uncommon to hear. But what's interesting about her is that she actually is also a monster of sorts. Like she comes from the Grey World a few years ago, so she's like 80 something years old. And what's weird is that in the game, she actually does this monster form scare, which is her face turns into a weird, scary monster face. This with teeth and shadows, kind of like the Disturbed guy logo character. I don't know. This is something I've noticed, and yeah, he has not he she yeah, she has a monster form, so she does scare. However, she doesn't have a scare form, and she doesn't imply that she's a monster. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but that's that. Yeah, and as you could tell, this is another scene that I don't have, so I might as well mention it here. The haunted school itself, I believe Bell Valley, I think it's called.
So now we're in the middle of September, and a bundle came in, which gives us the actual Bell Valley Middle School here. So now I got the haunted school kind of completed. One thing I'll mention though, when I'm kind of doing this, as you'll probably, I've kind of, been trying to set things up, and I got a land being cleared at the moment. But as you'll probably see in the back here where the hole is supposed to be, it's a little bit more lighter than usual. I think what must have happened is that during the event, they actually must have kind of used a blatch or made it darker or something like that. I have to rewatch the videos to see, but I think must have caved itself in. I don't know. I also came with this bell, by the way, which I believe was part of with the event, so there's that. But yeah, anyways, so here is the actual stuff in question. So we got both the boy and girl of class of 47, I think. I think so. We got Thalia, of course. And then we got the Shadow Master, the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord. It should be not the Shadow Master, the Shadow Lord. So we got these guys going on here. And no, not the B2S. So, this is Thalia's whole look. Which is weird because they have this weird movement, by the way. And then when they do their little oogity boogity type of thing. So hopefully I get a first front view. Yeah, no, thanks. But yeah, and then we get the Shadow Lord over here and the kids. So the kids in Thalia has this weird kind of, like you probably seen it during the haunted school, where they have this interesting kind of weird jump scare stuff. What was interesting too, I think someone was mentioning that the blobs kind of remind them of what was it, like Bendy and the Ink Machine in a sense. And I can see that. I can see where they're getting the inspiration from. But I swear, they also kind of, the whole mouth thing, especially with the Shadow Lord, he kind of, the way he looks, gives off the, I gave off some hints of, like, oh, he looks like the Muppets evil side, Future's or the Christmas of Yet to Come thing, especially with his big, creepiness. But then his face has this weird smile that looks like, and I'm not sure what the mascot's name is, but he has the disturbed mascot, if you know what I mean. Like, he probably look, and the hood probably doesn't do him any favors, but yeah, I just find it interesting that that's the whole look there. But yeah, now I've kind of showcased this during with the dialogue thing. So, my ramblings back in May. So, with that being said, let's go back into there, and I'll probably come back in the near future.
Yeah, that is an interesting building school because that's a reference to the Silent Hill school, as well as the fact that there's this weird hole that's inside it too. Because it's like, okay, what? Why? But yeah, that'll be an interesting building to actually have into the game, so that's a thing. But yeah, in there are these gray kids that are basically the other children, that kind of a boy and a girl. And then of course you got Mr. The Dark Lord, which is the Shadow Lord kind of character, who is that of Mr. Chameleon. And I'll talk about him in a minute right now. So let's have her do. Let's see what I could do the color. Yeah, you know what? Let's do the Color World Portal, because that's an interesting kind of animation going on here for her. And then we'll talk about Mr. Chameleon, aka the Shadow Lord. I have to do the Mr. Claw voice every time. So yeah, so there she is, does this color thing, and oh, spooky hand. It's interesting too because the whole the design and everything here is kind of funny, but yeah, it's an interesting design thing. Whatever. Yeah, so let's talk about the Shadow Lord. This is what he looks like. He is a spooky hooded figure with lots of teeth, and he kind of is like the boogeyman, kinda. And in the book, Mr. Chameleon is this photographer who is the MacGuffin, who's the person who caused the whole problems. And nothing's known about the character, but they've decided to flesh this guy out to the point where he is just a really old man. You could see in his in-game model that he actually has like eyes and everything like that, and he has an interesting look. But if you look at him here, he kind of has a different look. Now, there's an interesting inspiration to why he looks the way he does. So, believe it or not, there's some inspirations to this guy. The first one, the way this old man looks, is actually kind of based around the Darwin. Like, there is a picture of Darwin with this kind of hat, bowler hat kind of deal. I think that was what they were kind of basing the look of, the old man style. And the second, the more reason that the way he designed looks is actually mostly based off of Judge Doom from Roger Rabbit, especially the way the glasses and everything looks. 100%, this is what I think they're basing this guy off of. Because if you look at the getup and the design of his clothes and the way that he has a cane, 100% just like Judge Doom. The only difference is that he actually has his hands out and all that. And yeah, his whole shtick is that he takes photographs of people and he takes them to the gray world. Although I think in the story they kind of did something else different here. It kind of does this weird Stranger Things with the whole underworld or of the upside down. In this case, it's the gray world, and it's weird because it's implied that Mr. Chameleon, I'm not 100% sure what he is. He's supposed to be a guy. But yeah, and I talk about how the Shadow Lord is like this weird, evil, like monster character. But the way they kind of did the dialogue, it's implied that basically this is like a Venom interaction. If you know Venom from the Marvel / Spider-Man series, you'll know that Venom kind of talks in the sense that they are both different entities, but they're also the same entity. So they both have different personalities, but they kind of also work together as one. This seems like that's the case. In this case, basically his shadow is the Shadow Lord and he is himself. So it's weird, right? It kind of also inspires to that whole guy I mentioned before in the beginning of the video, which is the Dr. Facilio, or the Shadow Man, because his shadow also has a mind of its own. That and Peter Pan's, but who cares about Peter Pan? It's the spooky characters, right? But yeah, the dancing thing, definitely based off of that. And he has a bunch of interesting animations, but I think my favorite one, and by the way, his whole place, I'm going to do the shadow puppets because that's more interesting. Yeah, but what's interesting about, I forgot she's glitching out over there. Where is his home? Where is his home? I think it's up here somewhere, right? Yeah, over here. Yeah, so his house is interesting because it's basically a dark room, but also a weird camera house. So I do like how, the dark room, ooh, spooky. But yeah, he has this animation thing with this projector here. And it's interesting because he does this weird shadow puppet thing, and at some point he has a scary hand, which, again, another reference to another movie of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, where they do the same thing, where he kind of do like, ooh, look at the little animal stuff I do here, and then you get to the actual one with the scary face here, and then it's like, oh yeah, then the shadow eats the people. So this is the same thing of showing like, oh yeah. The fact that his shadow kind of does this thing and mimics him, but really it's his own entity, that's kind of the alluding to that, which I actually did like. So again, they do a good job with making these characters, and part of the reason why I kind of like this. So yeah, now let's, man, this video is going longer than I thought. Maybe this will be the longest one. That'll be an interesting tale. But now, let's talk about the one and only character in the game that has been here since the very beginning. And no, I'm not talking about that, but I might as well talk about the scenes themselves. Let's talk about the Halloween thing, Trick or Trap. So let's go ahead and talk about the element from Trick or Trap that actually makes sense, which is, and I don't know why she costs money, but this is Lillian. From the book. Now, in the book, she's basically an old witch kind of character, an old woman, and it's weird. But in this story, they basically turned her into a Medusa Ursula kind of character. So
yeah, that kind of weird character, kind of like turning people into stones, and they kind of alluded to that. And the fact that she has Medusa heads floating around with her, basically an easy way to kind of do the whole minions kind of deal. I guess why. I wonder if she's kind of the person that kind of can take her head off, grow a new head, and then throw it like, another character from. I digress. But yeah, Curly is a summoning thing here. Now, she's the only character in this story that actually stands out from the actual book of Trick or Trap. And, they've mentioned how she has a gold tooth. So in this case, it's a golden fang. So I have to summon this here. But yeah, this event normally basically is this, the Curly event is what I like to call it. So yeah, we got this here. And you got Curly. Curly was in this game since the very beginning. He was the storyteller. He was the crypt keeper to our spooky tales. And yeah, this guy was in the works since April, but has yet to been added into the game until Halloween, which I felt like was really appropriate. He was one of the fan favorites, and for me, he certainly is worth it because of how much animations they put in here. But the secret reality of why he has so many animations is actually because every update they had like an animation be done for him each time. So really that's why he has so much animations, because they've kind of just building him up slowly with what he does and his types of uniqueness as far as the scares and animation goes. So that's partially why he has so much, but I dig it. I really do like this guy. He's probably one of the best ones as far as spookness goes. And it'll be interesting talking about him. But yeah, that's Lillian. That's the Trick or Trap episode. That's all you need to know. But yeah, that was Curly. And he has a lot of different animations too. He has like, head juggling, camouflage, rolling head. But the more appropriate, the funny thing is, besides Goosebumps 2000, he actually reads all of the Goosebump books as he has here. And we'll probably do the one classic one, which is Give Himself Goosebumps, which is basically him reading from a book, which I'll go over there. Don't worry. I'm going to go there for a minute. Let's talk about Drool. Drool is one of the characters that I mentioned during the Halloween update, which I went into more details about his lore and all that stuff. But all you need to know is that this was the unofficial mascot's sidekick character that appeared alongside him during his books covers when it comes to the Tales That Give You Goosebumps stories. And Drool is just a dog character that kind of was with him. He kind of resembles and kind of reminds me a bit of that little Nicky character, the dog character there. The way that the bulldog kind of talked to little Nicky there. It kind of zems like that. So the inspiration to what goes on here is that, if I remember correctly from the story, I might be mistaken by this, but Drool, as far as we viewers go, him and Curly understand one another because he's a magical, like, bulldog character. He's a good boy. He obeys the master of his Curly, and he's like the sidekick to him now. Slappy was a really pain, but he's a good boy. Look at that. Look at that face. You can't say no to that face. He's so happy. But yeah. Yeah, so what's interesting is that during his quest lines, we actually got to understand the other animal characters, because normally they just do animal noises, but he is basically the Garfield effect, where Garfield was able to kind of communicate, like we understand what Garfield's talking about, and when he talks to his other friends, they also talk in English in English too. I don't know what. Oh God, what irony! I was trying to say English and yet I couldn't say that. I just had a weird attack there. I was being possessed. Oh God, I digress. This is going to be a fun last episode, isn't it? It's certainly something, but yeah, I digress. But yeah, Drool. Drool has a lot of interesting stuff here. Nap time, digging up trouble. He wiggles, skateboarding. Yeah. So again, and he also has one for during the events. He has one where He kind of does, I believe, he has a trick or treat one, which is alluding to the cover art from one of the one of the books, which is him in the ghost carrying a bucket, which is cute. But yeah, this is another one with him actually doing this, and yeah, it's fun. He's a cool dog, you know, cool dog. He's a good sidekick, you know. I really did dig him as a character, and he was a free character, so I liked that as well. He was probably one of the best ones that got added. But yeah, so this is Curly's animation, him reading the first book, Welcome to Dead House, and as you can see, ooh, he got spooks. He reads, you know, and he's floating in midair, by the way, because his chair has not loaded in. There it is. I do love how they kind of have all this book here. He's like, he lives in such a mess, by the way. This was like teased way back in April, and now we got to see the full thing here. Like, look at this mess here. You know, he reads the books, but he certainly does not keep kept to himself, right? So one of the other things is that the most obscure of obscure is his sisters. His sisters was mentioned once, and the team took that and was like, "Yeah, you know, let's go ahead and do this." So, let's talk about each sisters. The first free one is Skelly. Skelly is kind of like the oldest sister. She's the more mature one, and her whole inspiration. I was talking to someone recently, and they're like, "Oh, maybe she's made out of candy, right?" But yeah, her whole inspiration is being that of a Katrina, which is a Mexican folklore, if I remember correctly, is supposed to be the Grim Reaper's wife. So they kind of look at her as like Santa Claus in a sense, like, oh, she's like royalty, you know, treat her right. And yeah, so if you've seen stuff like the book, A Book of Life, or Coco, or anything with the Dias de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, this is certainly one of the characters that was inspiration by it. And her altar, by the way, simply resembles that as well. But if you're curious, the Day of the Dead, the whole idea of it is that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's a celebration. It takes place after Hallows Eve, going into November, and I think it's like a few days, in November to 1 to 4. But it's a celebration of like seeing one's loved ones. So it's like, if someone died, like a grandmother or like a past relatives or their ancestors, this is the day to kind of celebrate them, like celebrate life in whole. And this is like the one holiday where you actually see a lot of people actually decorate their loved ones' graves. So you actually get to see a lot of unique flowers and stuff like this, you know. It's actually kind of beautiful in a kind of interesting way. But yeah. Now we go to the other one, Boo's. And as you can tell, Boo's character stuff here is, yeah, she's kind of more of a banshee, especially the way she was talking in dialogue. She appeared, where did she go? Oh, there she is. So she's basically like a banshee in a sense, or she's a skeleton with does yelling powers, and kind of reminds me of I mentioned this too, by the way. For some reason, this whole update, the Trick or Trap, reminds me of like Scooby-Doo Ghoul School, where the characters are just interesting. And you know, if that was the case, if each character had to be somebody, I can see her being as what do you call it, Phantasma, whatever her name was, the ghost girl. Because she just like hyper and all that stuff and yelling, and you know, she's just like that in a sense. But yeah, a lot of people were like, hey, maybe she got inspired by the fact that originally when they were trying to find what Curly was supposed to be as a main mascot, they did this cover art with this weird ghost version. And honestly, I think that's part of the inspiration. Oh, by the way, let me just go ahead and do. Let me. No, honey. Go back and rest. There you go. Yeah. So I think part of the inspiration is from that, but it might also just be from the spooky ghost in general. And before I move on to the last, and this is the last character, by the way, Nightshade. She is probably what I would say the black sheep of the family. She is maybe, I could say, either she's the middle child and Boo is like the youngest. I see it as that. And she's like the more edgy kind of skeleton. I do like the fact that Curly's sisters all is unique in the sense of how they look, so they actually stand out from one another. And she's kind of like a crypt keeper esque kind of like zombie skeleton look. And I mentioned how her design kind of remind me of Eddie, like a particular Eddie model from uh, what was what was it? Is it Iron Maiden? No, yeah, no, it's probably Iron Maiden. That I'm thinking of with the Eddie monster. Someone probably will correct me on that because I think it is Iron Maiden with that has Eddie as a main icon for the band. But yeah, it kind of has that rocker kind of thing to her. She's very edgy, and the fact that how she does her scares is certainly really out there. She's also very radical, and if anything, I can see her and Curly having more of a rivalry in a sense. But she also like the other sisters, elder sisters, other sisters. She it loves her brother at the end of the day. Like she does all that, like as we've seen in the story. So whatever you call it. So before I move on to the last stuff here, one thing I'll note is that, believe it or not, both Skelly, Boo, Nightshade, and even Lillian, and this is an information I found out from them, they actually animated their walking cycles, which tells me that maybe in the future we may actually see these three sisters plus Lillian as a walk-around character if they wanted to do that, which will actually be kind of cool. I actually, if they don't add Lillian in there, that's fine. I can live without that. But for the sisters, that would be actually kind of cool to see them kind of do a walk around and kind of have animations of their own. But, we'll see. We'll see. If they do that, then they'll have to add their houses because this will have to be their scenes, right? So there's that. I do like how each sister has their own kind of theming to it, and Nightshade is literally just a locked up coffin to kind of make it kind of cool and metal kind of deal of that nature. But yeah, that's the family of Curly, that is for sure, and a lot of updates to go here. So let's see if we can power through this. So the next one's Chicken. So I think I mentioned this before, but Greg actually gets cursed and becomes a chicken, or a rooster in this case, and he gets spawned into the farm, as what they call it. And the farm is, as a scene, actually has all these characters. So Greg is the rooster. There's some chickens that get spawned. The other character I'm about to talk about gets cursed into being a were-chicken, and then Vanessa has her spooky ghost, this kind of form, this spirit form. So it's interesting how they switched roles in this story case, and I think I went in depth during this time. But Vanessa, as a character, I think I love her and sympathize with her. She's basically a farm girl, almost like an Amish type of character, who is related to Clarissa. And I love that idea that she's actually related to her and looks at her as an aunt that, assists her, like, oh, you're a witch, so let me help you get your powers, right? And we actually get to learn a little bit more about this in her as a character, right? And she does some stuff, and one of the fun parts, have her chase a chicken because she comes from that. So yeah, there's that there. And that's her animation trying to catch a chicken, because that's the more appropriate stuff, and then that's the mayor doing a statue in her backyard. So yeah, and then that's the animation of the chicken, by the way, that you get to see in the story. So there's that. So 4 more characters. Crystal. Crystal is not the same Crystal that we see in the story. It is implied that this Crystal is actually the same Crystal that's related to Greg, hence the connection. In this tale, in this version, she is a pretty brat princess, kind of blonde type of character that's just so selfish and kind of petty and vain that she only cares about money and all that type of stuff. She, believe it or not, she and Reggie, I feel like, are probably like one and the same as far as things go. In fact, I can see both of them teaming up in a sense because they both have, like, they're both the same character-isk, except one is, you know, a guy and the other one's a girl, and different clarities of how they become monsters. But you know, she's a real monster at the end of the day. The chicken, chicken is just showing the inside and outside. But yeah, and then of course I'll mention this. She has a little doggo named Danger that she keeps in her purse because that's a typical thing you can see from this type of character. So there's that. So yeah, that's her. So also, by the way, I don't get what happened here. Yeah, that's weird. So it kind of did this. You know what? Nah, I like that. The fact that this just glitched out and did this. So yeah, screw it. That's that now. So if the game wants to glitch and do that, that's what it's gonna be. So she has a bunch of stuff here. Walk danger, get nails done type of stuff here. Speaking, I think, is probably one of the funniest though. However, I don't know if they fixed it. No, they did not. But it's supposed to be her beak kind of pops in, and she's kind of like, oh no, that's that. And enjoy that kind of animation there. So let's go ahead and finally finish off the last one, which is this one, the 12 Screams of Christmas. So Mr.Piccolo, he is a guy who's been mentioned for last year in not even last year. It was like in 2019, and then we finally get him in the end of 2020, which is the guy in a wheelchair. And I mentioned how I think this was mostly inspired by the guy, Tim Curry, when he was doing the narrator for the oh god, what was it? The failed attempt at the Rocky Horror Picture Show reboot. Yeah, so I think that was kind of in there. He has the Xavier's chair, floating chair thing, hovercraft type of deal. It actually looks kind of cool. This guy's rich, man. He's loaded. He kind of, although he's in a wheelchair, he's kind of this. Also, this is interesting because I think this is our first actual disabled character running around here. And, yeah, he's an interesting character. It would have been interesting to see him kind of get fleshed out over in the years. But, yeah, let's have him kind of go why all this stuff and does this here. Now, let's talk about the next character, which is Marcus. Marcus is from, he has his... It's interesting because in the story, the mother passed away before the whole tragedy happened, hence she actually got to move on. So that was implied in the story. Whereas the twins and him did not, so they end up getting cursed here. And it's weird because, and I'll mention this, the thing we haven't gotten yet is the Marcus house, which has his twins and got to spawn him as well as the other last character I'll mention. And what's interesting about this is that his cover art, or his design, is roughly based off of the one from the actual cover of the book. And it's weird because in the... it's a weird story, and I think I went more in depth in here, and I'm going long than I thought. Longest episode, but in the story book thing, the inspiration to him, it's weird because the way he looks and everything like that. Normally, it was implied that he hated kids and all that type of stuff, but in the story, at the end of the day, he actually came off as the opposite. Like, he was kind of abrasive, and the fact that, he has this holiday get up on him, it's just like, I don't know. I think Curly might be mixing up the stories, but yeah, he has a bunch of interesting ones here. I think, if I remember correctly, I think Ghostly Doings, yeah, so this is the one. So Ghostly Doings kind of has his scare animation, kind of, the way it looks, so kind of do this here. So he kind of has this kind of look to him. And what's interesting is when he turns around, when you see him in the back, the lights actually flicker on and off. So I don't know why it doesn't do that in the front, but I do like that little detail that the lights actually go on and off, and he has this weird bad kind of shirt going on there. And yeah, there's that. So before we go on to the best character, the most OP character, the one that some people actually really just like, one type of person actually just goes all out and going like, oh my god, what happened here? No. Yeah, you know what? Let's fine. No, my friend, my tree. No, you do not go out and about all over the place. What's wrong with you? You do this. It's weird because what was I talking about, man? Whatever. So let's go ahead and talk about the best character. Susie, where are you? There you are. Susie Snowflake. She was originally mentioned way back in the first Christmas episode that Mrs. Dark ended up having to come across. It was implied to be a actress who plays as her, but in this story, in this particular version of her, she is said to be a cartoon character, something that you would see in the Rankin Bass kind of film, that kind of whole holly jolly, like, hey, let's save Christmas, like, oh, Santa, let's have fun, happy day, you know, that kind of cringy, kind of too cutesy, happy-go-lucky thing that usually horror. And this is funny because when you think about it, this is probably the most horrifying thing that has entered Horrortown. Like, you get the scary monsters and whatnot, but no, nothing's more terrifying than this thing. And the way she's just, like, she's always happy. It's so creepy. I don't like it. No, I mean, that's the whole point, right? She's a cartoon character and all that type of stuff. And how she got out from the film, I don't know. They didn't imply what happened there, but she's just kind of out and about. She ends up trying to help Mr. Piccolo and ends up kind of backfiring pretty bad. And, you know, she has a bunch of stuff here, like the Holy Jolly Carols, the Reflection. If I remember, I actually like let's just do the dance. Yeah, so, yeah, she does the dance, which is the SpongeBob dance. Yeah, so it's like if Pippi Longstocking and SpongeBob had a kid who was so obsessed with Christmas. Yeah, that's Susie in a nutshell with this. And I think I like this design better. She kind of resembles, kind of like what she would, like, in the book and all that stuff. It's described differently, but I like this version. I think this is, canonly now, this is the Susie, is in now, it's official. Susie Snowflakes, this is what she looks like now. And apparently a lot of people really love this design because I've been seeing a lot more fan art of this character a lot. So a lot of people are just already saying, like, yeah, Susie Snowflake, this is her. This is officially her now, you know. And I love that because she's probably the best there. And we're going to end it off with probably one of the more adorable things. The one scare scene we got for free. The Gronks. The Gronks, who are probably one of the more interesting characters. They're described as being like toy monsters that can just grow for some reason. And it's weird because they look like Muppet furballs. I kind of went into depth with these guys of how adorable they are. Like, they're not even scary. Like, the inside of their mouths probably kind of has the nod to, like, Don't Scream character. I forgot what her name is, but, you know, the kind of spirit that lives in, like, devices or something like that. But, yeah. So this is them there. And that's how they scare around. They kind of do this type of stuff and spook the citizens, which is funny, in a way. How cutely adorable they are. They kind of remind me of Tickle Me Elmo's. But, yeah, and what's interesting, too, is I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they mentioned some lore of certain character, and I think they may in the future, because I've been talking to this person, if the game does come back, originally this was supposed to be added back earlier this year, but, you know, what happened, basically, the whole thing ended, and, yeah, I would not be surprised if these things, the Muppet-looking monsters, are actually designed by one particular person who will probably be mentioned and showcased in the future. Let's hope. Because they did mention this guy. And quite honestly, the way they kind of mention him, which I'll mention during my playthrough, kind of clues in that perhaps this is the case. But I digress. So yeah, what a way to celebrate the 3rd anniversary, right? In limbo, unfortunately. And yeah, this is the first ever cake we got for the 1st anniversary year. And yeah, that's my collection. That's what I have so far, and that's what's been unleashed so far during this whole thing. So hopefully, here's to more years. Hopefully we get some good news in the summer. But yeah, this is the whole my collection. So sorry about this whole rambling thing. I hope you at least enjoy this content while I try to make do with what we got. And hopefully by the time this comes out, the good news is that the game will probably be back, but we won't know. So I guess let's go ahead and have a last little minute on monologue to what I've said before. So let's take it away, Future Grim. Well, as the recording of this video, it has been a few months since back in May. During this evolutionary time, I figured I've been releasing it one by one every so often rather than all the time back in May. The reason for that is because, as you notice, eventually around August time, they started to re-release some of the old scenes again. So my thought process was, well, okay, wait until the end of the year in order to basically have a 100% guarantee list. Unfortunately, as you probably have noticed during the end of this clip, I'm missing 2 scenes, one of them being the scare scene back in November, which is the barn, and the last one being that of the Marcus's, place. And the reasoning why I think this might be the case was because back in October there was an update for a new event for Halloween. They have not yet taken this down and all that, and that's because, as of the recording of this video, the project is most likely done. I've made videos about this before. It is a shame that this has become the case, but unfortunately that's the way it usually crumbles. Now all we have to really do is just hope for the best that we actually see some new content as far as, a new game of this kind of style comes back without the whole legality loopholes. But I digress. But before we end it, there was one last thing I forgot to mention. As I pointed it out a few sentences ago, there was a new update in Halloween. That would mean that I'm missing one last part to this collection. That's right. We'll be talking about the Mrs. Eakins and the Wonder Candy Factory scene. In fact, I'm figuring I'm going to be doing that right about now. So here's that clip. That's right, surprise. We're going to be quickly taking a look into this and ending it off, hopefully. And I figured I might as well do this real quick. So last kind of event we did, if you want to call it that, we got this, the Wonder Candy Factory. Now, unfortunately, they have not updated this, so I figured I might as well do this real quick. So I'm going to be sacrificing my money since I have so much. So first of all, let's just go ahead with this. So now we got this here, and basically Lucy, Dustin, Marty, and Eric as monsters. And then we have Mrs. Eakins and her candy monster, the Candy Fiend. And we're going to summon all of them and have them have their fun to get a 85% drop rate for the full moon fever. Let's just see this here. Let's see these guys going up and about as they terrorize people as they usually do. Now, weirdly enough, and this is kind of unfortunate that's, doing it like this because they haven't updated this game, and I think I know why. But I will digress from that for now. Got all these kid monsters just kind of going over here and just doing this. And of course, Marty still grows every time he scares somebody. And I mean, we're pretty much close to like the end of November here. Like we're on going into the 19th. So you get a good idea how long this has been. But not too fun, honestly, with how everything's been kind of I'm disappointed, as you can tell, because it seems like the game is pretty much it's done. It's done because of Scholastics and their endeavors of wanting money. Unfortunate, but business is business. It's their loss at the end of the day. Maybe we'll get something similar to this in the future, but who knows. But yeah, you got all these monsters here doing this type of stuff, kids and whatnot. So that'll be it. And that's the scene. So let's quickly take a look at Mrs. Eakins. She had animations, but unfortunately they dropped certain currency, so it's not there anymore. So as you can see, she only has this, which is just maps, which unfortunately is not really the type of currency a lot of people need, because like for myself, it was the compasses, but this game has been off for so long that I pretty much have a lot of compasses and a lot of stuff that I can't really do anything with because, again, game's kind of been blank. So yeah, this is a bit of a I don't know what you would refer to this as, a lukewarm kind of like a final kind of finale, special bonus, I guess you would call it. But yeah, I guess go back to myself now. Now with that basically has ended everything. I'm recording in the last few days before the end of December, so by the time this recording goes out, it's basically done and over with. I don't know what happens in January if the game fully goes out, or what exactly is the deal, but if any new information comes out, I'll make sure to let you know. But until then, I've been Graham, and I'll be seeing you next time for whatever games I've been covering, especially near the end of one last video I have to do. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this collection and better understanding of what is to come with this little game. 3 years. It could have been gone longer, but it is what it is.